Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Tom Duffy, and I'm a regional account manager with Fortinet based in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in security sales for over 10 years and with Fortinet for over 5 years. My team supports Rollins' secure SD-WAN initiatives, and I'm excited to have Kevin Morrison, Rollins' Vice President of IT and Chief Information Security Officer, join us today. Kevin, can you please share a brief overview of your background for our audience?
Sure. Thanks for having me today, Tom. Again, my name is Kevin Morrison. I currently serve as the Vice President of IT and CISO at Rollins Incorporated. My current position includes security, operations, and application support for Rollins. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology, a Master's in Applied Computer Science, and I'm also a CISSP. I've spent 28 years in the information technology field with extensive management and technology experience in business services, nonprofit, construction, manufacturing, and technology industries.
Thanks, Kevin. And now I'll share a brief overview of how Fortinet got engaged with Rollins. So Kevin, as you know, I met your CIO, Lee Crump, at a charity golf tournament in the fall of 2018. That led to a meeting with you around the time Rollins was issuing an RFP to migrate from an aging MPLS network over to SD-WAN. Your network consists of 3 data centers and 500 branch offices throughout the U.S., and your primary objectives in moving to SD-WAN were to reduce cost, improve network performance substantially, cut deployment time in half, and enhance your user experience. Over the next 7 months, we collaborated with your team to design the network that would transform the way your employees and customers communicate and access data securely. Kevin, to ensure our audience understands who Rollins is, would you mind providing an overview of your business and the expectations your customers have?
Sure. Rollins is the world's largest pest control company, and we are a premier global consumer and commercial services business. Our wholly owned subsidiaries include Orkin, Northwest, All Pest, Critter Control, and many other brands. We actually go to market with over 20 brands worldwide. We provide essential pest control services and protection against wildlife, termite damage, rodent, and insects to more than 2 million customers in the United States, Canada, South America, the Middle East, Asia, Europe, Africa, and Australia, in more than 700 locations. We recently worked with a large security business rating service, and as of today, we are also the world's most secure pest control company. Most of our customers are homeowners and small business owners, so they want to know when one of our employees will arrive. They want to know who's coming, when, and in what vehicle. As a company, we also want to understand mileage, routes, and drive time. These statistics directly impact our bottom line and our customers' expectations and satisfaction. We have 13,000 Apple iOS devices, 8,000 of which are used by technicians who are deployed to our customers' locations every day. We use those devices to do directed routes for our drivers, just like UPS or Uber Eats would at your home.
Thanks for that overview, Kevin. I know I, for one, have used Rollins in the past to get rid of those pesky bugs around the house during the summer months, and I can't recommend you all enough. Kevin, what were the main business drivers behind your digital transformation and move to SD-WAN?
So at a large view, the primary driver was business flexibility. We have a lot of locations. Those locations move, they grow, they shrink, and they change all the time. And waiting on traditional technology to enable that is just too slow. We also wanted to increase network speeds at all of our branches, increase performance of both voice and video infrastructures, and reduce overall network costs to the business over traditional networking technologies such as MPLS. We also needed to increase our security posture and improve productivity while decreasing network setup times. Reduce network outages was a huge goal, and improve the stability across all of our brands. The traditional MPLS outages takes hours or even days, as everyone knows, to get resolution. And us implementing redundancy with LTE backup really helps us minimize those outages that were causing lost revenue and a poor customer experience.
It makes sense. I know you and I, Kevin, specifically talked about how if Rollins technicians can't get scheduled due to network downtime, That equates to lost revenue to the business and a bad customer experience. Moving on. So SD-WAN solves problems in a lot of different areas. What were the key issues you were looking to resolve or address at Rollins, Kevin?
We needed to solve the architecture network traffic problem with the traditional branch, hub and spoke configuration, and provide our locations the ability to get closer to the applications in the cloud. We needed to offer a larger bandwidth to our employees at a lower cost. We wanted to enable our network to be carrier agnostic and give us different transport options like broadband and wireless, and even 5G in the future. As you know, Tom, we are using LTE wireless as a backup at all facilities to better enable uptime, and we have seen voice over LTE exceed those expectations. And we also needed stronger security, better network visibility, traffic analysis, and flexibility to better enable traffic patterns, all while creating a more efficient and faster deployment of network services. And I think most importantly, we gain all of those technology benefits while reducing our overall network costs by at least 25%.
That's outstanding, Kevin, and thanks for sharing. Most of the customers we work with were trying to solve similar problems regarding their network and security. And now that Rollins is using various Fortinet solutions to consolidate multiple point solutions that didn't integrate, what business value are you realizing from our security fabric and centralized management?
So gaining insight into our network traffic, how our employees are using the network, the security risks that may be occurring that we've not previously seen, and even application usage has been a huge benefit to our IT and cybersecurity teams. This has created a scenario where our tool sets are easier to manage, we have greater visibility into our network, and we have better flexibility with our network, all while saving time and money.
And it sounds like greater visibility into the network allows you to take a proactive rather than reactive approach to security management and keep the bad actors off the network. So Kevin, how has SD-WAN helped your company and IT in particular serve the business better?
So our primary customer touch point is phone calls. When someone has a pest problem, whether that be in their home or at their business, they want to talk to someone who understands their problems and can ensure that their problems will be taken care of. SD-WAN gives us the ability to route not only calls anywhere, but allows us the flexibility to share information and use application in different ways that we couldn't do it before. It gets applications closer to the business users, which helps us service our customers better and allows us a better opportunity to maintain high levels of customer service. We are reducing our wide area network costs by 25% or around $1 million a year with a projected total ROI over $5 million in 5 years. Flexibility, application support, and uptime are all key benefits, but also network resiliency. And by using the LTE backup features of SD-WAN, our employees have greater uptime. SD-WAN has allowed us to move away from our legacy technologies and remove the hub and spoke model to a fully meshed dynamic model with SD-WAN.
Wow, with every company looking to cut costs, saving $5 million over 5 years is substantial, so congratulations, that's great. And now that your branch offices will have that flexibility to access cloud applications directly from the internet without having to backhaul that data traffic, it sounds like that's a great start, so congrats again. So Kevin, as you know, this is a two-phase purchase, right, in Q4 2019 and then Q1 2020. How did you make sure that you had continued support for this project when COVID-19 struck?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Tom. It's a good project. It has immediate benefits, but it also has long-term benefits, including savings. So our CFO and our executive team wanted to ensure that this project continued to implement at the pace at which we, previously presented to the board, and they wanted to ensure that we were going to achieve those business benefits at the time that we communicated. So while we've had to make cuts in other areas, obviously, like most businesses, this project has demonstrated its value and will help us come out of the pandemic stronger as an organization. But there were some challenges with that. Early in the project, Rollins engineers had to physically touch each piece of equipment, and we were programming each device by hand. So we partnered with Fortinet engineering team and built automation for deployment using Ansible. This allowed us to automate our deployments and program devices in minutes versus hours. It created a scenario where we did not need engineers to be hands-on, and we could leverage remote hands that had no previous experience with the Fortinet equipment. So we built all that automation, partnering with Fortinet, and then purchased and shipped the majority of equipment to a remote hands vendor where our engineering staff could truly deploy the solution from anywhere they're at in the world.
That's great. It sounds like all sides came together on the technical, operational, financial front to think outside the box to get this project approved and off the ground. That's great to hear. Kevin, what are some lessons learned migrating from MPLS to SD-WAN that you'd like to share with other companies looking to do the same?
Yeah, there's several. I would say the first is to use some automation. Fortinet Professional Services helped us with Ansible, which enables us to deploy 5 or even 10 sites a day. If you do the math and are only deploying 1 or 2 sites a day, the project would never end, right? 700 sites is a lot of sites to deploy. Also, make sure that you do a full proof of concept, and not only just do it in tests, but do it in production. Really test the technology and make sure you understand the capabilities of the solution that you're considering. Our technicians that perform pest control have to be trained in real time during the year to ensure they are certified and have the latest information regarding pests, applications, and even safety. Because of that, we use a lot of multicasting traffic on our network from our learning center based here in Atlanta. Several technology companies selling SD-WAN solutions stated that they fully supported multicasting. During the POC, we found that was not completely true. Working through a POC will also tell you what kind of company you're potentially partnering with. Everyone in IT has stories of a vendor selling you a solution when you need help or the results are not achieved. The team that sold you the solution is typically no longer there. Make sure that you're getting a partner and not just a vendor. Fortinet received the technical recommendation for our project after a very extensive vetting process, which consisted of a 3-week live pilot at 5 locations in production, and we did that with multiple vendors. I think another thing that comes to mind, Tom, is support. During any technology implementation, there will be problems. We all know that. And having a technology account manager assigned to our account has really been a tremendous value. Knowing that there is someone on the partner side who's ready to jump into a problem and get hands-on with you at a moment's notice is a huge benefit and has been a great value to us during the project and will continue post-implementation. I would also mention talking to your peers to validate your selection and get an understanding of their experience. Too often I see people discuss potential implementations with their peers, but not necessarily take their advice. Someone that's been through a technology implementation successfully is very helpful to talk to with you before you're in the throes of the project. Also, I guess the last thing I would mention is partner alignment is key. Close collaboration with iVision was important to us. We have a solid relationship with them, built on trust and support over the last 5 years. We have leaned on them very heavily during this implementation and will continue to for a long time.
That's great to hear, Kevin. And I'll add my own personal anecdote to the POC process. During that POC last summer, I flew out to Durango, which, if no one's familiar with that, it's in a remote area of southwest Colorado. And by remote, I mean no direct flights from Atlanta, 3.5-hour drive from Albuquerque. And so with a lot of help from my engineer, Michael Littman, a few others from our team, and our partner, iVision, we successfully turned up that Durango branch office where multicast was being tested in live production. Our SD-WAN performed so well, in fact, that the office manager said that voice and video were never better. So we were very proud of that. And I was proud to actually put on an engineering hat for at least a half a day. So, Kevin, what kind of partner has Fortinet been throughout your digital transformation journey?
So a few weeks ago, I spoke with iVision's president, David Degetz, and he asked me a similar question. And I think the quote that I used at that point to describe Fortinet was that, a true partner, which is a rare thing to say, and it really is rare for us to say that. Fortinet has always been there to help. You give us everything we need, and even helped us troubleshoot our architecture when we had to switch, to work from home when the pandemic hit, like most other businesses. So overall, Fortinet has really proven themselves to be here to help us to make sure we're successful.
That's outstanding. We feel the same about our partnership with Rollins and iVision, so very well said, Kevin. So building on that theme, can you summarize the business outcomes to Rollins that you'll be achieved or will achieve through this deployment?
Sure. I think we hit most of them already in our discussion, but just to summarize, network speeds at all of our branches will increase 7 to 10 times. Our annual wide area networking costs will be reduced from roughly $4 million to $3 million, which total ROI over 5 years is $5 million. The network setup time for a new or relocated branch will be reduced significantly. Improved network stability, end user experience, and security posture. And I think most importantly, we'll be providing all of that better flexibility for our employees to access applications that are moving to the cloud, all while saving money and giving the business better benefits.
Impressive. We're proud of these outcomes and will deliver substantial ROI to your business. So outstanding here. Well, it looks like we're now at the Q&A portion of our webinar. We've had quite a few questions that have come in so far. So if you do have a question, please submit it in the Q&A box. And let's see here. So audience question number 1 here. So Philip says, I'm looking at taking on a project like this. Can you describe the process of putting this together? What were the big elements you needed to coordinate?
Well, anytime you have a project this large, coordination is a large part of it being successful. This project in particular was very challenging as COVID caused us problems, not just with the physical implementation, but also with cash flow, access to facilities, and even our branch management. Being concerned about the cash flow, our ability to deploy on a programmatic scale consistently, logistics problems because of COVID, business owners, business branch owners not wanting third parties to visit their sites without PPE, and even restrictions due to carriers having halts on installations. Like one carrier in particular has put all installations on hold until November. So my advice would be just to make sure that you fully understand the challenge before you tackle it, and ensure that you do so with a business continuity in mind to make sure that you're successful.
Yeah, it's great advice. And Catherine's asking, on the operations side, how are you able to ramp up your team to take on deploying all your sites?
So that was not a small task for sure. We increased our skill set internally by implementing mandatory training. We used a partner with a strong network and implementation experience. We also are using Fortinet professional services for very specialized pieces of the implementation. And finally, we are leveraging a partner for remote hands who has great experience with network installs and implementations, but there's no requirement for them to know the Fortinet technology due to the automation that we've implemented.
That's great. So it sounds like having a really well-defined training and professional services deployment is critical to success. So thanks for sharing that. And Shane would like to know if there are other areas this has opened up in your business for other use cases.
A couple of interesting use cases that have been brought to light along the way. First, because of the significant business case of getting, higher levels of security, we were able to take advantage of the FortiCASB for better visibility into our SaaS usage. This gives us the ability to eventually better optimize and monitor the traffic for both privacy, cyber, and safety as well. Secondly, we have implemented an IVR that is hosted in Equinix data centers, and that architecture will help us get even closer to our applications with even better security monitoring and traffic optimization. So we see after the SD-WAN deployment has completed, that architecture will continue enabling better security and enabling better architecture and enabling better performance for our employees.
That's right, and especially with CASB as you move toward the cloud, making sure those applications are secure. So Cody is asking, how did SD-WAN impact low latency and critical applications like voice and video? What helped your IT department feel comfortable switching call centers and sales centers with that voice traffic from MPLS to SD-WAN, if that was the case for you?
Sure. So as we previously discussed, Tom, voice is how we get much of our new business, and most people would say that that is our most important application. When a potential customer has a pest control problem, they want to know that they're calling someone that can help, right? Not just answer a phone call. So during our POCs and even now during our deployments, we are measuring voice traffic quality, and it is actually better on SD-WAN with broadband than on our legacy MPLS network. The newer technology also helps us improve prioritization of traffic and enables us to eliminate the legacy methodology of bandwidth optimization through maximum throughput restrictions, which really it never was effective, right? Technology that really never enabled an SLA. So we're seeing better control and knowledge of our environment on SD-WAN versus MPLS.
That's outstanding. Great insight and feedback there, Kevin. So Richard would like to know, how many sites do you deploy at a time? Is automation helping you do with that?
Yeah, so I think like most projects, we started out slow. We wanted to crawl, walk, and run. We started doing one site a day just to iron out our processes. But within a couple of weeks, we really quickly moved to the run phase and ramped up to doing 2 or 3 a day. And we've continued increasing that daily scale. We're currently doing 5 to 6 per day. And ideally, we would increase that number more as the processes continue to mature. Because of all the automation built into the product with Fabric and Ansible, that's enabled us to really move to the run phase and really deploy very rapidly.
Yeah, that's amazing when you think about it too, because I know your initial goal, Kevin, was to cut down your deployment time from 90 to 45 days. Now you're doing 5 or 6 per day, which is going to result in immediate ROI to the business. So just outstanding to hear. Zach is asking, how was the experience with Fortinet professional services and support services to develop the deployment plan both now and during the rollout?
Well, I think for me to fully answer that question, I should probably explain the way that the team is set up and how that's come together for the project. We obviously have an internal Rollins team for overall governance, project management, engineering, and support. We've partnered with iVision for project management, engineering, and support as well. We're leveraging Fortinet support services with a technology account manager that we previously discussed. Fortinet professional services has helped us with specific technology challenges like Ansible, and we have a partner for remote hands. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of individuals that make up the team. But as you stated before, everyone has really come together for a common goal. The Fortinet professional services team has been excellent to work with, And each time they've been presented with a challenge, they were able to overcome, that variable. I think for me, one of the most important things about the relationship is that it is ongoing, and it did not end when the sales cycle ended, like a lot of technology sales. The team is still here. They're with us today as we deploy, and they've really proven themselves to be a very valuable partner.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think that's the essence of a partnership, right? Is not only how you engage throughout the sales process, but after as well, and the ongoing mission to see us all be successful. So that's great. Craig would like to know, can you share what some of your new initiatives are?
Yeah, I think we talked about a couple of them already in the discussion, but I'll reiterate some. Really, the new projects that we've created out of this implementation include a FortiClient deployment, which we have not discussed before. We have implemented the FortiCASB for better application visibility and control. We are further leveraging the FortiAnalyzer and FortiManager as an enrichment of security and data available so that we can be more responsive and proactive to understand our network traffic and the security, policy challenges and what's coming in so that we can stay ahead of the threats.
Okay, that's great. Looks like Frederick has a great question here with what has been your reaction from the company and branches on this deployment? How have they taken to the new change from MPLS to SD-WAN?
So, our employees, they've definitely been able to better leverage their network connectivity. They've been able to take advantage of more rich media and training than they had before without impacting their usage of business critical applications such as voice. Frankly, most of the branches kind of assume this is the new normal and run with it. And this has really enabled them to do more, to be more digital, have more simultaneous applications running, and more multitasking with cheaper circuits.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's very helpful, and appreciate the insight there. Looks like we've got a few more questions from the audience. Let me pull them up as well. I've got, let's see. Looks like Daniel is asking, do you have any areas where there's only one ISP to deliver service? And if so, what are you using for a secondary connection?
Yeah, good question. So a lot of us like to say that our branches are in cost-optimized areas. We do not have any retail services, so the branches are typically used as meeting locations in the morning and in the afternoon for the technicians. So we do certainly have branches that only have accessibility to one ISP, and so when we have that scenario, we then implement an LTE backup. So we also have the flexibility with the SD-WAN solution to use multiple carriers. So it could be AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or whomever's the strongest cellular connection in that area. We can move to that. And we've actually found in some areas that the infrastructure is so poor that often the LTE works just as good as the broadband, and the statistics on the voice traffic certainly is as good as before on MPLS.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Looks like Ross wants to know, what are you using to measure the voice traffic quality?
So we have some Avaya tools that we use to measure that. Our telecommunications infrastructure is centralized, and so more hub and spoke, if you will, traditional PBX. And so we're using those internal Avaya tools to measure that. And if you wanted more specifics on that, happy to connect you with our telecommunications team.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks, Kevin. And Craig is wondering, said you converted from MPLS to broadband LTE connections. Did you integrate into the MPLS network for your testing before initial deployment?
Yeah, that's correct. So all of our data centers, all of our core applications, and frankly all of our internet connectivity with the MPLS was all riding on that MPLS circuits. So we most certainly had to bridge between the SD-WAN network and the legacy MPLS network. That involved us doing some translations of some routings, some architectural thought, and I think that's a good area there where Fortinet was really able to come in. Michael Lippman, who you were mentioning earlier, was a great asset to help us architect how we combine those networks, and it makes it look like one, not only during the POC, but as we roll out as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. And James is asking, are your offices all in the U.S. or how much international outside of North America do you have?
So the majority of our offices are in the U.S., but we do have company-owned assets in the U.S., Canada, Singapore, UK, and Australia. Although those businesses are smaller, the international businesses, they are growing. And so we see this as a huge cost savings benefit in the future for those brands as well.
Okay. And Brett wants to know, do you do any load balancing at any of your sites where you have non-LTE backup?
The primary location where we are doing load balancing is at our larger data centers and our larger call centers where LTE would not be feasible. So we have locations that have 10, 20, 100 call agents, and having all those calls run over simultaneously, an LTE connection is not practical. So that is an example where we will come in with either dual broadbands or at the very large sites, potentially dual DIA circuits.
Okay, great. We'll take two more questions here. Adrian wants to know, how do you separate roles on Fortinet for management of firewall rules and SD-WAN management? So
that's a good question. Since I own both the network engineering and the security team, we most certainly want to be clear about separation of duties. And so we have, first of all, you have to have the conversation with your team, right? You need to make sure that people understand their lane and that when they're getting out of their lane, who they need to communicate with and work with. Secondly, we have developed some security groups inside of the FortiManager to separate duties so that a network engineer, as an example, may not mistakenly make a change in the FortiCASB that causes visibility or application blocks.
That's great. I appreciate that. That's good insight there, Kevin. And we'll take one final question. Let's see. Do you use any cloud services at these branches, and did you optimize the traffic with SD-WAN rules?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think that's an initiative that will continue for years to come. We absolutely use cloud applications, and we recently migrated, recently being a year and a half ago, migrated to Office 365 like a lot of other companies. As COVID hit, Teams became a really primary application. We are allowing that traffic to go direct to internet from the branches because each of the branches has a firewall, they have an IPS, they have anti-malware, et cetera. They have security controls, and they have the reporting going back to the FortiAnalyzer and to the FortiCASB and others, other tools. So we have visibility and control of it. So now moving forward, the thought is with the Equinix data centers, do we then look at onboarding ramps to go more direct into those SaaS applications, which is a pretty common architecture today with a lot of companies. So that's most certainly was a big goal of ours, to get those applications closer to the users and to ensure that we're optimizing that traffic so that we're prioritizing it appropriately, while still leaving plenty of bandwidth and for our most important applications like voice.
Great insight, Kevin, into how cloud applications are so important at the branches, and more importantly, how do you secure those? So in closing, Kevin, I can't thank you enough for joining us today, sharing your amazing journey and transformation. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience?
I would just say that, Fortinet has really helped us solve our technology and business problems, not just for today, but into the future. And we really appreciate the partnership, Tom, and we appreciate everything that the team has done for us and with us, and we look forward to a continued successful relationship.
Yeah, likewise, Kevin. We feel the same way. And thank you so much.
Thank you both. That is all the time that we have for today. I wanted to thank our audience for spending their time with us. We've had a lot of great questions that have come in, so I did want to remind everyone that if you are unable to get to your question during our live event today, that we will be following up with you afterwards. Thank you to our special guest, Kevin, for sharing your experiences at Rollins, and Tom for helping us dive into those more. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you.